philosopher and composer, Jonathan Powell, tells us that one may only grow as far as the horizons allow. And today, regarding the issue of the future of Russian politics, concern over her horizon is just as important now as it was in Powell's time. Which is why when faced with the question, what will Boris Nemtsov's assassination do to the future of Russian politics, concern over her horizon is just as important now as it was in Powell's time. We must push beyond ourselves to find an answer. We must look towards three key areas of analysis. First, we have to look towards why Russia will continue with what it's done. Second, we have to look towards Putin's effect in politics. And third, we have to look towards on why and who is replaceable. But first, let's start to examine our horizons by looking towards why Russia will prevail. First, we have to look towards Putin's actions in Egypt. As said by the Moscow Times on February 2nd, Putin has moved out and taken business trips to Egypt in order to help establish relations. He has given gifts such as Kalashnikovs, symbolism helping to show that he wants military ties with trading, whether it be with weapons or ammunitions or training or whatever he chooses to trade with them. It just helps to solidify these ties with his partner. We also have to look towards his ties that we see in CNN on February 4th with North Korea, as he takes business trips there as well and talks to leader Kim Jong-un on how the ties should happen and what they can do to further their relationships both politically and economically. And what we need to take from this is this. First, we have to look towards Europe, the UN, and the US, and how they are sanctioning Russia as it stands now. And it just goes to show that Russia is prevailing. They're being shut off from the East by the UN, by Europe, and by the US. So instead, they decide to move out to the West and to the South and gain as many political and economic partners as they can. It goes to show that even though Russia may go through hardships, they can still find ways to prevail. They can find somewhere else to move and some way or another to grow and to gain. And this just leads me to my second point, which is Putin's role in government itself. As you can see from my last two examples, it was Putin himself who went out and talked to both Egypt and North Korea. He did not send his ambassadors, and he did not send any other people other than his guards who came with him. And this just goes to show that Putin is the main political figure. He is the president of Russia. He's the big factor. He's the one who has the people's support. As we can see in the Sputnik International on March 2nd, the people support Russia, especially Putin, on the issue of foreign policy. When asked, they said they agree with Putin's choice on how to interact with the world around him and are willing to support him through the sanctions put on him with the United Nations. And because of this, we can see Putin's the biggest factor here. Even though Boris Nemtsov was assassinated, we can still see that the big factor here is Putin himself. He isn't sending Nemtsov around to create these relations. It is him himself who handles the biggest factors. And so when we go back and we look at Russia itself and their future politics, the only one who is truly mattering right now is Putin himself. Because any big issue that affects Russia as a whole will be handled by Putin because he himself is the one he deems fit to handle in the situation. Which leads me to my final point of who is replaceable. And there's one simple answer to that. Everybody but Vladimir Putin himself. When it comes to the government of Russia, the big spokesman, the frontman of the operation is Vladimir Putin. When you look at what's happening and who is in control, you think of Vladimir Putin. You don't think of any of the ambassadors, anyone who's under him. He is the one with the political capital. He is the one who is seen publicly. He is the one who's controlling foreign affairs right now. And so even though we see other political figures such as Norvez be assassinated, Russia will still continue with its plan because Putin's still alive. He is the one who is thriving right now and is pushing forward. And as we can see with the CNN article that I announced earlier, that Putin has support right now. And so it would be political suicide to switch and do a different plan. Putin will continue with what has worked in the past and what he is doing now because the public supports it. And he has made open agreements with his people that he will do what the people want so long as they support him if it goes along his lines. And seeing as they follow his foreign policy, he will continue with what he has done. And so when we go back and look at the question of what will become of the future of Russian politics, well, we can see that it will continue because Putin has to keep his image up, and he is the main frontman, and the people support him as of now. And so, when we go back and we look at our horizons, we can see that Jonathan Powell was correct. Because we broadened our horizon and looked at the issue, we can fully understand it. And so, when we went back and analyzed what Russia is doing in its foreign policy, how Putin's the main man, and how everyone else besides him is replaceable, we can push beyond ourselves and find the answer. And when we look at the question today of what will be the effect of Ortis Newton's assassination on the future of Russian politics, we can clearly see that it will have little to no effect on the politics, seen as Putin is the main man himself. Thank you.